countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Grab those rings. It is now time for more of the Last Comic Shop podcast.
That's right. We're coming to you with no tape delay. None of that save for a prime time bull crap that NBC likes to do with their Olympic coverage because they don't realize that media has changed since the 1950s.
Yeah, and we're going to bring our Russian judge-style rating system to comic books, because that's right. What we do. Are the Russian judges there? I don't even know. I haven't paid attention.
Sure, whatever. I will say that my favorite event is still curling. It is still a dream of the host with the most, Andy Larson, to eventually curl, because I want to sweep and put the thing in the house, the deals. I've also got Jay Scott and Chad Smith on this week's show. Fellas, you fan of the curlings?
Any stone that you can slide across a thin sheet of ice is one stone too many for me.
Oh, man. See, I like games that you normally would play with your friends, but giant, where you stand on the table, like instead of ping pong, tennis. That's always fun. Curling is just basically shuffleboard with brooms. I like shuffleboard, so I'm for it.
Give me the biathlon any time. Any game that was invented skiing after rabbits and shooting them.
It is a weird combination of like skiing and then just stopping and shooting. Yeah.
When I worked at the video game store, though, we had that one game, Starsky and Hutch, where you could drive and shoot, and I thought that was the best game ever. It's everything I wanted in a video game.
Well, we've also got Mikey Wood on this week's show. Yes. Is the biathlon everything you want in an Olympic event, or do you have a different favorite?
Well, I was going to say I am playing for Belgium this year, so you know. And the curling thing, there's a broom involved, so it's too much like housework. So I'm out. I'm out of that. I think it's just a way to get cheap Canadian labor to clean the ice after a hockey game. They're like, yeah, make a sport out of it. Use a broom. So it's supposed to be friction. I don't even know how that works. Biathlon is the skiing and shooting one. I think it would be better if you're doing them at the same time. Like if you're, I mean, I guess you kind of are, aren't you?
No,
but they stop and set up.
You stop, no. It's not like James Bond.
That's what I was going to say. Isn't there a James Bond movie with the biathlon basically in it? Except, so the biathlon would officially be more interesting if you were going after the other team members. That would be better. Like the other, like you're playing against them and it's like whoever survives wins. Maybe
a paint biathlon.
Right, use paintballs if you want to.
Oh, there you go.
Why do you have to use paintballs? Just do it the way James Bond did.
That's right. Yeah. Do it for real.
I think it's for your eyes only. I don't know if it's the biathlon, but there is a part where they're like skiing, and it seems like it would be an event, and then James Bond seems to win it. I don't know. That's right. There's also a different one where he skis off the side of a mountain and then parachutes. I think that is The Spy That Loved Me. But we're not talking about James Bond on this week's show. No. We're talking about Tailgunner Jo, which is a Mikey Wood pick.
And not based on a World War II fighter pilot. Just want to say that. Because I was all ready for a swashbuckling World War II era Rocketeer type book, and this is not that. I mean, it's swashbuckling, but it has nothing to do with World War II.
Yes, there are a few buckles swashed. That is true.
But we will get to that book in just a second. We do have to warm up the audience, though, with a game. It's all cold outside. It's still the dead of winter, and we like to warm up you as an audience. So we're going to bring out one of our favorite games that we haven't played in a little bit of time. It is Mashups. That's right. For those folks that have not listened to an episode of The Last Comic Shop where we've played mashups in the past, got two spinner wheels. Because of the Olympics and the Olympic fervor that's out there, we are going to have one wheel be the comic book characters, and the other wheel will be the top 8 Winter Olympic Games. You're going to have to take these two things, and you're going to have to smush them together and make a funny story for the enjoyment of the audience. So put your improv hats on, kids. We're about to get serious here. We're going to go ahead and start off oldest to youngest. So that would mean that Mikey, as being a resident old head, he gets the first go at this spinner wheel. So let's go ahead and spin that wheel now. First, we're going to get the event. Mikey's got arguably one of the most popular events in the Winter Olympics, figure skating.
Oh,
so you've got figure skating. So think on that for a second as we get you your character. So who will be figure skating in your mashup? That's right. It will be the Hulk. So that's the first person I think of when I think of like ice dancing and being graceful on a big pond of water. It's the rampaging Hulk. You have to match these up. So what do you say? What's our story here, Mikey?
Bruce is, I almost called him David because of the TV show. I always forget that it's Bruce. But Bruce is actually the one who's taken up figure skating as a means of relaxation. He finds that the music is relaxing, being out there on the ice is relaxing. He was doing all those things, and he's very, very thankful that the costumes are made of stretchy materials, just in case he doesn't complete that triple axel and he gets a little hulked out.
There you go.
Still maintain his dignity. So
you can fit extra bedazzlement in there.
That's right.
That's true. Do they have to reinforce the ice just in case? Like, or just you just go straight through?
Yeah.
Does he have a partner?
He can work with She-Hulk. He can work with She-Hulk and have it can do doubles.
That's right. The green
cousin,
team.
that's gross.
That is gross. I was going to say Bobby Drake. I was going to say Iceman is his partner, just in case. He's there for safety more than talent, really. But he is there for that. So that's my.
Oh, I like it. Thank you. Good job. So moving on to the next old head, we've got J.A. Scott. So hopefully J.A. maybe he'll get his favorite one. Maybe we'll get some ice hockey in here. Let's see.
No whammies, no whammies.
Oh, it's the one he just talked about. It is biathlon. So biathlon is your event. So skiing and gun shooting. And which superhero is going to be participating in this winter event? It is Wonder Woman. Make it work.
Oh, I don't know if I can. Wonder Woman's not known to be very elite with the guns.
What about her World War II training? She hung out with Steve Trevor. They have, like, the military stuff. Wouldn't she be out there on the range with him?
Her whole point is to get off the course as fast as possible, because you've seen her outfit. She's cold.
She's freezing.
But it makes for good ratings.
It does. So, the way she wins this event is she gets her lasso of truth out and she lassos the person in front of her and just tags along with them, sort of like she's water skiing.
But she also attaches it to her arm holding the gun, so her aim is true as well.
Yes.
Oh!
Yes.
Wow. Great assist, Chad. Let's move on to myself as the host with the most. I'm the next oldest here. See which event I get. Boy, which one am I going to get? Hopefully it's one of the... Hey, look at that! Curling! So I just talked about it. It's not rigged.
Totally rigged.
It's not rigged at all.
Call the Olympic Committee.
So I've got curling and somebody that arguably probably watched it a lot, actually, maybe live. Wolverine. I've got to mash those two things together. Well, again, he's Canadian, so this is one of his favorite events. He's been curling well before the early 1900s. James S. Howlett III, Esquire. He remembers the days he used to curl, and Sabretooth used to be the one with the broom. But nowadays, similar to the Hulk, to kind of calm his berserker rage down, he knows that he's got to get that stone into the house. He focuses all of his various animal instincts. He smells the ice. He makes sure that it's of certain temperature. And now his sweeper would be Beast.
I thought you would have had his sweepers been like Dockin and X-23.
No, Beast has he can hold like 3 brooms. Like he's like balancing on one hand. And he's got.
I don't know. Between the two of them, that's a lot of body hair to get in the way.
Yeah.
You're going to redirect your stone that way.
I think Wolverine would love curling.
I think he would just cut the stone in half.
Maybe.
2 words, fastball special. Down low.
He'll get Colossus to throw the stone. He'll be the stone, and he just has to get into the target area. In any case, that's mine. Curling, Wolverine. We're going for it. So last person up is going to be Chad. And so, Chad, are you ready for your winter event?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so we've got as your winter event the classic slalom, downhill skiing. And who's going to be doing the skiing? It's going to be Robin. Robin is going to be your slalom expert.
Okay.
Match that up, buddy.
Now, are these moguls? Is this just down for speed?
No, it's slalom. You've got to go between
you got to
the
go
gates.
around the flags?
You got to go around the flags.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go old school, Robin. I'm going to go Dick Grayson, the one that doesn't wear pants. So similar to Wonder Woman, he's going to be very cold, but he is going to use his circus-like ability to slalom in, slalom out, slalom around, impress all the ladies, and before you know it, he's the most popular boy in the Olympic Village.
Yeah, now I know what he's carrying around in that utility belt.
That is true. I feel like Bruce would have made Robin slalom at some point. I feel like it would have been part of his training.
No, in the 70s, though. Remember the Ra's al Ghul era. Bruce is slaloming and, he's skiing all over the place. It was like a 70s action movie. So I'm sure Dick Grayson got in there at some point.
For sure. They used to take trips to the Alps all the time. It's good to serpentine away from bullets. If you can slalom well downhill, you're doing great. All right, so our last one is going to be one we're going to do all as a group, kind of like that old game telephone. So one person will start off, and then somebody else will pick up, and then from there. For our final group one, we are going to start off with the winter event, ice hockey. This is good because we're an entire group. But
so you got to give us each a guy.
Well, we'll just go with the other four that were on the spinner wheel. So our team is made up of Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and the Black Widow. That is our team of ice hockey people. We're going to start off, as always, with Mikey. He started us off before. So those are our four members of the ice hockey team. Tell our story. Yes.
There's a great, odd tremor in the galaxy. And something large is approaching Earth. The only heroes available at the time are the four that you named. They're called to action because the guy from Superman versus Muhammad Ali has returned. And this time, that's right. This time they want him to play hockey. They're like, okay, so the boxing thing didn't work out too well back in the 70s, but we found this new thing called hockey, and you will play hockey against our champions, or the Earth will be destroyed.
So the heroes get together and they decide who's going to do what. Spider-Man, with his amazing agility, is going to go into the goal, not unlike a Dominic Hasek of the 90s, where he can bend all around and stop the puck from going into the net. Superman is going to be the defense and big guy who's going to just knock people over and check them.
The bruiser, the enforcer.
Batman, because he's Mr. Detective, he's going to be the captain. He works out the puck distribution, where it should go all the time.
It's got to be your center, yeah.
Yeah. Black Widow, she's the sniper, so she's out on the wing taking shots of the net.
And shots to the neck with those little widow stingers when people are looking. This is hockey and you can do that kind of stuff.
That's right.
And like every event that's ever been in a comic book where folks come and there's an opportunity to sell comic books, we have to get some guest stars. That's right. We have to get some guest stars. Kind of fill out the team, right? You can't have a hockey team with only 4 people. So they get Wayne Gretzky. He shows up and he's like the great one. Of course, we would have him playing hockey with these superheroes. And then Bo Jackson also shows up, as well as Michael Jordan, because they were all on a show I remember from my childhood called Pro Stars.
Right. That's right. Never mind the fact that they're all like 80 right now or something.
It gets the ratings, at least of people that still read comic books, which is me. like the people in their 40s that remember these folks. They don't know anybody else. But in any case, Bo Jackson is just on the side. He doesn't really do anything. Michael Jordan is really excited about playing hockey. He's like, well, I played baseball.
He was terrible at baseball. Don't you remember?
He was.
When he figures out that he can't play hockey, he just uses all that millions he made playing basketball to buy the rest of the team. And it's just the 1970s Flyers. So they come on the ice and they just beat up the scrubs. It's that time that they destroyed the Red Army team and the Russians wanted to go home.
But then the superheroes have to take down the Flyers.
Yes.
That's right.
So all that power goes to their head.
That's right. And they get really upset because Batman keeps calling them the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, it really pisses them off. I think we just wrote the next Space Jam movie. I think we did. Even though it's not, basketball. Just make it hockey.
Sure, why not? But that's our game of mashups. Anybody else have anything to add?
Flyers.
Who else is on which other celebrities are on the cover, Chad, of that wraparound cover done by
Taylor Swift,
Lady Gaga,
Super Pro, all the other Robins,
Archie Bunker.
That's right. Kurt Vonnegut in the corner.
So all the other Robins, but like in the background, you see the Jason Todd Robin running and Joker's chasing him with a crowbar.
The one Robin still got his slalom skis. He's like, I'm up next.
Dick Grayson.
Get that boy some pants.
Oh, that's all the time we have for mashups this week. We're going to get to our commercial break, and then we'll be right back with Tailgunner Jo. Yes, the DC book that Mikey Wood picked for this week's episode. Stay tuned.
Hello, Last Comic Shop podcast listeners. It is George from Shortbox Summary. The only thing I like more than reading comics is collecting comics, and the only thing I like more than collecting comics is taking care of the comics I've collected. And there is no better place to get bags and boards for your favorite, heck, even your least favorite comics than BCW Supplies. You can get all the bags, boards, boxes, frames, and more that you need to help keep your comic collection in its best shape. Listeners of this podcast can enjoy 10% off their order with code LCSPOD. That's LCSPOD for 10% off your entire order. Keep it tuned to the Last Comic Shop podcast for the best in comic stock and the best in comic book supply savings, courtesy of BCW.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're the hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health evaluation of comic book characters.
We also chat with some of your favorite creators,
Al Ewing,
Erica Schultz,
Gail Simone,
Philip Kennedy Johnson,
Chris Claremont,
about their work on comics.
So check out all our episodes at capesonthecouch.com and follow us at Capes on the Couch on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag because comics.
All right, we're back with more of the Last Comic Shop. It is now time for our Read Power Review, brought to you by BCWSupplies.com. That's right. Get all your bags, boards, boxes, all that miscellaneous comic book bric-a-brac that you need to keep your comic books looking fresh. You can do that very easily by using our promo code LCSPOD. Save yourself 10% off at checkout over at BCWSupplies.com. In any case, one of those books that you might want to keep in BCW supply bags and boards is Tailgunner Jo. Maybe you fished it out of a dollar bin, maybe you fished it out of some other back issue bin, but that is the book we're reading today. It is Mikey Wood giving us an opportunity to take a look at a DC book that maybe not a lot of people have ever heard of. I certainly did not. J.A., who was involved with Tailgunner Jo?
Tailgunner Jo was written by Peter Gills with pencils by Tom Artis. Inks on the first two issues were handled by Ty Templeton. On the third issue, Eklund Nyberg. Fourth and fifth issues, Joe Rubenstein with some Dick Giordano assists. And then the sixth issue was a group effort by DeMolder, Eklund, and Vey. John Workman did the letters on the first two issues. Todd Klein took it from issue 3 through 6. And Adrian Roy handled colors throughout.
Issue 5, you can tell it's Dick Giordano. It looks real nice.
I thought the other issues looked nice too, but Dick Giordano does have a very specific inking style.
Yeah. There were some issues where I felt like the art was more Rickley and arty.
Yes.
That didn't happen in the Giordano one.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Kim DeMolder. I know Kim DeMolder did. I think he worked on Punisher War Journal for a while too, for over at Marvel. But I know.
And Alvey, wasn't he the Avengers guy with Busick and Perez?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
Yeah.
So a big group effort by a lot of folks. Well, Chad, why don't you fill us in on the 10-cent synopsis? What happens in Tailgunner Jo? Is there a lot of tailgunning? Is there a lot of Joes? Or is there just one Joe?
We've got a Joe. It's not a G.I. Joe, though. But you would be surprised to see Joes pop up in here. But no, what you get is Tailgunner Jo, who is this cyborg who's permanently infused not only with his memory banks, but with the memory banks of his 10-year-old daughter that rides along in the back and helps him out during these daring escapades when she is not headed off into her little fantasy land with kings and queens and tea and knights and all of that. But Dad is going to try to rescue their mom, who was a scientist along with him at the big corporation that they are now fighting. And it was a 6-issue series from 1988. And Mikey, how did you find this?
What were they eating? What were they smoking?
That's right.
This is straight out of some peyote fever dream.
It is a little weird. I mean, basically, it's RoboCop with a little added thing there. But it was 1988. I was 15 years old. I was like coming off of reading G.I. Joe and Transformers and things like that. And I was starting to read, like I had read Watchmen by then. So I was kind of looking for new stuff. And I saw an ad for this book and it just looked cool. And I thought it was a 6-issue miniseries. It was from the beginning. So I thought, okay, it wasn't like it started out. It wasn't like a regular book that got canceled. So I thought I'd just jump on it. And I read this and I just really, really liked it. And throughout the years, nobody, and they even say this in the last issue, how like basically nobody bought this book, right? It was a flop. It's like nobody bought it, but nobody knew this book. I'd mention it. I'd be like, "You ever read Tailgunner Jo?" And they say no, and I just was like, "Oh!" But I really liked the artwork in it. I really liked the story. I really liked the idea of like what this dad is going through. Like he's a scientist and he's intentionally killed, and he is built into this cyborg thing, and he wakes up and finds out that there's this AI in his body that's actually his daughter's consciousness, his previously disabled daughter's consciousness built into him. And he has created this sort of fantasy world for her to keep her happy. And because basically he's a weapon. He was just built into this weapon. He breaks his programming and decides to go and, like you said, rescue his wife and go against this corporation. That he goes through a lot of ugly things, and his daughter has to witness a lot of, and she's a child still, and she has to see a lot of terrible things. But what's interesting
like her dad perving after this hot blonde chick.
Yes, yeah.
He was sweating more bullets over his feelings for this girl than he was about anybody he was shooting. He was like, "Hold on,
Joe, just don't pay attention. Go,
yeah, don't do it."
Yeah, and she's drawn real well, so I understand it. But it's just interesting to see how her father's where he is mentally starts to affect the fantasy world that he's built for her. And there starts to be cracks and things start to overflow into it. And it's I just found it really, really interesting as a concept. And
I do like for a 10-year-old, she's like, I think my dad's going crazy.
Yeah.
I liked her ability, give me your face. Let me take over the face.
Yeah.
I kind of sort of got this book, but I kind of sort of didn't. So you're going to have to explain it.
Really?
Loved it. I loved it, Mikey.
Cheryl was asking about personalities are on the show, and I'm like, it's really cool because everybody's sort of got different interests and things like that. And I said, Andy sometimes needs nuance spoon-fed to him.
That's true. That's true.
You like the straightforward, this is...
I do. I do like things action-packed. I really did love the art here, and I love the kind of sci-fi, cyberpunk kind of world that they built. But I had to read this book twice. Some of it just didn't make sense to me. And to be honest, I really do like Peter Gillis. Peter Gillis wrote one of my all-time favorite issues of What If, where he brings basically Conan the Barbarian into the future and makes him like a street gang leader. It's got an awesome cover where Conan the Barbarian he's holding a revolver. It's great. Find that issue. But I want to specifically talk about the end, because that was the part where I just didn't understand anything that was going on. You have this story. He's trying to find the wife. He's fighting against this evil corporation. He gets the bad guy, or the guy that runs the evil corporation. He kills him. But then towards the end, he takes this like elevator to like the moon or something. And at the last issue, there's this whole like hanged man thing, and like the fantasy world and the real world are just breaking down. And is she still alive, or is he alive, or are they in the fantasy world or in the real? Explain the last issue for me, Mikey. I think that's what I need help with.
What's happening to the father is starting to flow into that world. I mean, that's kind of the best way that I can explain it. I believe they all get sort of uploaded into that realm, and they're together
and
again.
Then there's fireworks. Yeah.
Is that what happens? Because he was jumping out of a window. Like he's like, I gotta separate reality from this, and I'm back. And like then he jumps out of this. And what I'm trying to tell you is, like, I don't think this thing stuck the landing at all. Like, I think this was like some interesting concepts up to a certain point, and then they were like, this isn't selling. But you said it was a limited series to begin with, so like, he must have had an idea from beginning to end, and like this ending just. J.A., you said that you liked it. Did you get the ending?
Yes.
All right, then explain it to me.
You just have to understand it. That's all.
It's BS. It's BS. Chad, did you understand the ending?
The way and don't get me wrong, I had some questions. Like the little girl, the friend that comes in,
Inez.
Yeah, where does Inez come from? Like, what is her deal? Is she another program?
My take was she was created by Joe after Joe saw the girl get blown up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she wanted to save her, so she creates her in the fantasy world.
Oh, see, I always thought it as the dad created a friend for her. Same thing, but it was the dad doing it. So dad.
I put the onus on Joe creating it. Because I gave Joe, even though she's a 10-year-old, I gave her a lot more power over her own sort of mental health, because it was her way of dealing with the death of that girl and essentially the violence of war.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Andrew's sitting there like you could just see the smoke coming and the gears grinding.
I don't know. I had questions, and I don't know.
Okay, fine.
I'm sorry.
I'm used to being in the Andy seat where it's like, what? Someone explain this to me. Why did you like this?
And everyone's like, it was just a thing. And I was just like, all right, it was just a thing. I'll let it go.
You never get any of the books that
I get plenty of them.
In Andy's defense, this one was a little tricky.
It was a weird one. Yeah, it's
a weird book. I got House of Secrets. I got it. I got what was going on with that book. Tailgunner Jo.
The thing that got me about her, though, was just at the end, she brings in the hanged man, and that's her dad, is like the melty face robot guy. And so that's why I had it in my head, like, oh, this is some virus that's infiltrating the system somehow. But I really enjoyed this. I love the daddy-daughter relationship. While, they're going through all this terrible war stuff, she's more adept than any 10-year-old should be, but she also like looks and thinks like a 10-year-old, and I thought all of that just worked really well. Whereas there are times where admittedly, I would lose my footing and be like, oh, wait, we're going back to this world again. Wait, we're doing this. Is this symbolic of this other thing? Or is this just, sometimes I worry that I was trying to read too much into it. At the end of the day, it was a fun sci-fi romp. And they all have fireworks and everybody's together and they rescued mom and now she's inside the program. And they're all just digital downloads waiting to be uploaded to that big mainframe in the sky.
That's what happens. Like they're all dead. Yeah. They're all dead at the end. Like everybody's dead.
They're not dead. They're digital. But it's like it's not live. It's Memorex.
At the end of the book, definitely the Tailgunner Jo guy. Like not Tailgunner Jo, Lars. That's his name. Yeah. Lars. Let's start talking. Lars is the daddy. Lars is still alive. He's like, oh, I got to run out, and he's going to jump out this building, and then he jumps out of this airplane or spaceship or whatever, and then all of a sudden it cuts to them being in the digital world, and then they're all happy, and I'm like, did I miss a couple pages? Sorry, the art was real pretty, but this story doesn't make. I don't know. A lot of very interesting visuals in this book. I like the fact that this cyborg looked a little bit different than what you would expect from cyborgs. Mm-hmm. It didn't look like RoboCop. They gave him these kind of weird hand things that were coming off his back with like the guns, which was kind of an interesting idea.
Those extra arms. He's like Dr. Octopus, but skinny. And with only two hands.
And I'm glad that eventually they got rid of like all of his other like attachments. Like he had like a glider attachment in the first issue, and then he got rid of that. And I was just like, okay, that's superfluous, and I don't really. And then they went on the road, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Interesting visuals and really great artwork, especially in the fantasy realm. I thought that the artwork was really nailed well.
Well, no, so Lars survives. What's probably confusing is that in the 6th issue, Jo finds her mom, but it's actually not Jo. It's Jo controlling Lars, but visually they use Jo. Because that's why the mother keeps calling her Lars until Jo is like, Mommy, it's me. And that's when the mother realizes that Jo's inside there too.
I don't know. I feel like we're spending a lot of time on this show just talking about this.
I just like the little girl with the Gatling gun and her raccoon buddies. And they've got all this advanced military weaponry, and they're taking out these cyborgs.
I love his second set of arms that fold up and go under his cloak.
His coat, yeah.
And he can throw off his coat, and then he's got these giant robot arms that just shoot laser blasts and smash things.
And this book is also sort of important to me as a reader, because in this book was an ad that has this picture of some kind of like dark looking character in it, and it says, I will show you nightmares in the grain of sand or something like that. And I was obsessed with that. Yep, and I went and I found that book, and I read that book from issue 1 all the way to the end, and that book changed my life. So this was this book is believe it or not sort of the turning point of my reading. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
You put away childish things. You were moving on.
Sort of, yeah, but
in some ways.
I did go back and look for a lot of Tom Artis stuff, and he died back in 2007. But he did a nice sort of he crossover between Green Arrow and Question annuals one year. So I just really liked his artwork, and there's not a ton of it actually. He worked.
I was surprised that wasn't a name I was familiar with, because the stuff in here is real good.
Yeah, he had a neat style to him.
But yeah, and he does really well going between the cybernetics, although I don't know if I'm with you guys. I think the Tailgunner Jo design was one of the weaker ones. I liked a lot of the other cyborgs in here and some of the more future tech. And one of my favorite things with books from the 80s and 90s is watching them try to come up with like future slang and what that looks like. In this book, if you read like the letter columns and stuff, it's chock full of it. That you marry that stuff with all the Alice in Wonderland style, Little Kid Fairyland. And then you throw in all the automatic weapons and the face-melting cyborg robots, and it's a fun little nightmare that will haunt my dreams for a long, long time.
I just saw that he did 2 issues of Sensational She-Hulk, so now I have to get them.
There you go. And speaking of ads, this book also has ads. Someone will die because the Joker wants revenge.
Yep.
Get ready to call the hotline and kill a Robin.
This was during that whole thing. I called to have him live, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I did.
That should be a T-shirt. That should be a T-shirt.
That's right.
I called to let Robin live. Yeah, it was fine.
But it was just what I love about it is, and we have this problem now with comic book movies and mostly movies in general. It was just so refreshingly different. And
it didn't have any ties.
No ties, no legacy IP, just wonderfully wacky. And I'm sorry that it didn't make any money. I could understand why, but it's still great that they tried it. And, for DC to put this out is just great.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was Jeanette Kahn's kind of time. that she was involved there, where they were doing things like there's no superheroes anywhere in this. It's not tied to the DC universe at all. None of that. It's just its own little animal. He's not going to be in the Who's Who in the DC universe. You know.
He doesn't show
like
up
that.
on that Muhammad Ali Superman cover, does he?
No, he does not.
Oh,
No.
that's too
But I want to know, what are the triangles on his head?
You know, like the Greeks, the Romans, one of those like what olive.
Like an olive crown or whatever.
Yeah, it's supposed to
I
look like
looked at
that.
it like as it's a reverse Geordie LaForge thing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's some kind of cybernetic thing, but it's supposed to look like with his haircut being sort of a Roman cut, and
Yes.
he's supposed to look like a gladiator. He's supposed to look
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought he was supposed to look like Bo from the Three Stooges. Or Skinny Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
Definitely the blonde girl that had that giant nature reserve. She was loving his look regardless. Look at that tall drink of water with the two weird extendo arms like Inspector Gadget.
And Joe was like, "Dad."
He was
let's see
struggling.
this.
He was really struggling with.
He was sweating. He's like, I'm faithful to your mother. Faithful to your mother, Joe, but
Baseball! Grandpa!
I'm
Grandpa
still
playing baseball!
human. Yeah.
Go play in your room for a little bit there, Joe.
Yeah.
all right. Well, we got to get to commercial break. We'll be right back with more Last Comic Shop right after this with our ratings of Tailgunner Jo as well as recommendations. So stay tuned for that.
Being a PI, you learn fast what seems like a normal case never is. You never realize how much you're going to need your friends. You can never guess how near your enemies are. And you never know who to trust. Now I'm chasing down an ancient artifact, the only thing that can stop this newly unearthed terror. It sounds crazy, but I'm not thinking how nuts it all is. All I can think about is the only man who's ever managed to grab my heart is right at the heart of this mystery. And why? Every time my heart gets involved in anything, there's always a monster waiting in the shadows to break it.
Ripped from the pages of the self-titled comic book comes Dash, a new queer supernatural noir podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Podcast Dash, on Instagram at dash.noir, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where we hope that you have backup. That's right, whether it's friends, whether it's digital versions of your kids hanging out in backpacks, I don't know, whatever. Hopefully you have backup in your life, a good tail gunner that has your back at all times, like Lars did in this particular book. But I have a great tail gunner. His name is J.A. Scott. He's been my tail gunner for years, and he's coming up with a 1 out of 4 scale. What do you got for me this week, J.A.?
1 out of 4 giant extending cybernetic arms.
Couldn't help but use the Inspector Gadget sting right there. That's what I thought of every single time they were coming out. I was just like, look.
Go Gadget arms.
With giant guns.
But at no point did they look like cybernetic, like, this just looked like a thing he put on top of his shoulders.
Yes.
Like, I've got these extra arms, this extra arm.
It was like a scarf. He wore them like a scarf.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like sexy Dr. Octopus, right? Let's just say it. He had the same bowl cut. He had 2 extra arms that he climbed around on like Dr. Octopus did. It was just...
It'd have a cool name, Lars Gunner.
Lars Gunner.
That's right.
Does that mean that his daughter's name is Joe Gunner? Like, does he come from the whole clan of Gunners?
Yeah, Joe Gunner. Joe
Gunner.
So would he be Dr. Hotcopus?
Oh!
Right? Right?
Joe, go in the other room.
That's right.
We're going to start off with J.A. Scott, because J.A. Scott genuinely liked this book. So what's your rating?
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 3. It was fun. It was interesting. It was wacky out of left field. It did take a reread or two. Sometimes you had to go back and reread like a whole issue to figure out, did you miss some movement from the real world to the fantasy world, or why this happened or that happened. But to me, it was really interesting to read a comic book from this era that was not capes and cowls, but still put out by mainline DC at the time. So that to me, I mean, they were definitely on the good shit when they were making the editorial decisions to have this one produced.
Okay. Chad?
I agree with Jay, the fact that this was a cool swing, right? It was a very valiant effort, but I don't know if it totally landed. Like, sometimes I was a little confused, I'm not going to lie. But I appreciate the effort that's here. And I wonder how many things like this fall by the wayside when you don't have a Mikey Wood to be like, yeah, I want to read Tailgunner Jo. What? Just to dig this out from wherever it came from and to, like, recognize, like, no, this is fun. This is something interesting, and it's not something you're going to see every day. And because it is what it is, and the way that it does the things that it does, there's not many other podcasts out there, I bet, that have Tailgunner Jo reviews. Right. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that we're out trying something new, trying something different, even though it was, it's weird. It's weird stuff. I appreciated that the kid seemed like a kid. And so many comic books have kids in them that don't seem like kids. You know, I think of every Marvel comic book ever. And sometimes you get artists that can't even draw kids. They just draw humans with giant heads.
John Byrne.
Yeah, exactly. This was not that. Everything seemed to fit in that regard. And like I said, at the end of the day, I really like that daddy-daughter relationship. And I thought that was sweet and heartwarming. And you have this guy who's been screwed over by the big corporation, and he's out for revenge. But also, while he's out for revenge, you know, he's got his kid in the back seat. And he's got to make sure that he doesn't do anything too bad because his kid's watching and judging. Yeah. And meanwhile, his kid is like, I'm more adept than you on any day this week. Just let me take over, Dad. Let me drive the car. I got this. I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm glad we read it. I'm going to give it a 2.75. So give him one extra, like a tail coming out, like a scorpion to help him fight those fantasy snakes and everything else that he has to beat up.
Well, I'm going to kind of piggyback on one thing that Chad said. The most interesting part of this book for me was the relationship between Lars and Jo, and the fact that they were kind of like a team in their revenge scheme to get Mom back and take it down these evil corporations and battle these other evil cyborgs and whatever thing. It kind of reminded me of those times when I would play like Fortnite with my daughter. And you could tell like that she's much better at that game than I am, even though I've been kind of playing some shooters for a long time. She's like, Dad, you're slowing the team down. And I'm like, wait a second, I can handle this, Jo. And that's my daughter. Her name is also that. So and there were some parts of this that I really dug. I think up until about issue 4, I was on board with what was going on with Tailgunner Jo. It made a lot of sense to me. There was some cool things that they were bringing in. Is he going to go back to the other corporation? Then you find out that both corporations are actually working together and they're both evil and all this other jazz. Like it was some neat stuff. But about issue 5, I felt like this series started going off the rails a little bit, to the point where, again, I had to read it 2-3 times. Those last. They started blurring the lines between the fantasy world and then what was going on with Lars and his revenge scheme. And the way that they did it just didn't make a lot of sense. I think that there could have been a better opportunity to tell that story. And again, that's when initially I was like, kind of like, is this because like they know this book's not selling and so they have to wrap up the story really fast? But then when Mikey's like, it was always a miniseries, I'm like, okay, if it's always a miniseries, then you need to know that like 5 and 6 has to be a lot tighter because this is how you're going to end your story. And 6 was just, I personally feel was a mess. It wasn't until Mikey Wood said that like the girl was actually like Lars. And so when you were seeing him like meet the mom, like that's actually Lars running into that building, because part of it's also the fantasy world. So it's like, and so as a result of that, regardless of the cool art, regardless of whether or not I connected with it with my own daughter relationship, and just I got that vibe, and that was pretty cool. I got to give this like a 1.75. Like it's not even a 2 yet. I didn't like the end of this book, and it really soured me for the rest of Tailgunner Jo. When you know you got to tell a story from issue 1 to issue 6, and you know you've got those issues, then you got to stick the landing. They stuck the beginning. The beginning was fine. It was the ending that was no bueno. Sorry, Mikey. But what's your rating?
it's a good 3 for me. Like maybe it makes a difference when I read it too. I was a kid. It was not like anything I had read before. Remember, this was like before Vertigo. This would have been a Vertigo book if Vertigo was going at the time. I'm pretty sure it probably would have. So yeah, I mean, I just always kind of thought the idea of the AI world to keep the kid happy and his mental breakdowns or the stresses that he's experiencing start to affect that world. And a lot of times I liked how Joe was his voice of reason sometimes as well. It was like you're in traffic and you got your kid in the back seat. You may not scream at other drivers as much as you would if you were by yourself, So it's funny because I hadn't read these books probably in 20 years or something. I've had them in a box and when I took them out this time, this sudden remembrance was like my issue 6 was not stapled. When I bought it from the comic shop, it had no staples in it. And
it's all loosey-goosey.
It's all loose, but for some reason they were holding together. He didn't realize it when he put it in the bag. And
maybe that's why it makes more sense to you, because it's actually out of order.
Yeah. So I actually just stapled my issue 6. I actually put staples in it. So my staples are brand new as of 2 days ago in that whatever 30-year-old. No, more than that. Holy shit. 88. That's almost 40 years, isn't it? Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's a wall. We're old people. We're old people, Mikey.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm glad you guys, for the most part, liked it, give or take. Like, that's kind of cool. That's cool.
Listen, I will say this. As Chad mentioned, I'm really glad that we have this last comic shop show and we can highlight books that there's a lot of folks out there that have never heard of Tailgunner Jo, and some people might pick it up as a result.
Yeah, I can't see DC putting this. This is like an image book in this day and age. I think I don't see DC ever putting something like this.
I mean, I've got
forget Marvel. Marvel. I mean, those guys are too cool for us. Let's just.
I've got like a list of books like this, like books that DC put out that like Hammerlock and Haywire and Trouble Magnet, like all these books that I read. That anytime I'm like, oh, did you ever read Trouble Magnet? People are like, what? Yeah, like it's like I swear
DC did have this sort of like let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks mentality for a while there.
Some things stuck. Some things are Tailgunner Jo.
That's right. And some other things that stick with our audiences, hopefully, are our recommendations. Yeah, this is the time of every single show. We talk about other books in addition to Tailgunner Jo, which, again, you can find at your local comic book shop, probably in buck bins, probably in back issues somewhere, probably not in a collection. No way. But if you can find the single issues and you can find all 6 of them, by all means, pick it up and read it for yourself. And maybe Mikey Wood will have some of these other weird one-titled series from DC as one of his recommendations. But we're going to start off with Chad Smith this week. Chad, what do you got for us?
Okay, so just like how Tailgunner Jo is one of those stories we were worried about how it would potentially fall through the cracks, my story starts way back in the 1960s when the Batman TV show was a big hit across the country. And they made a Batman movie and they were going to do a follow-up. And this follow-up never materialized. But there was a script that was found in the estate of William Dozier, the guy in charge of the Batman 66 TV show, where Batman meets Godzilla. Now, fast forward a bajillion years. The year is 2019, 2020. Folks like Eric Elliott and company decide they're going to produce this script as a fan-made comic book and publish it online at batmanmeetsgodzilla.com. Or you can find it on X or Twitter or one of those things. But there were 3 fan-made issues that recently came to my attention when they finally finished the 3rd issue and put it out. And the story is what it says. It's Batman Meets Godzilla. It was based off of this 20-page treatment from the Godzilla series writer Shinichi Sekizawa. I apologize, Shinichi Sekizawa, or anyone close to that name pronunciation. But it feels like an abandoned episode of the old Batman TV show. It's wild, and they have multiple artists on there, so I won't lie to you. It is inconsistent at times, but there are parts of it that really work, and the whole thing is just bananas fun. And you get Batgirl shows up in there. You get Batman and Robin versus sumo wrestlers. You get Godzilla, and Batman finds sometimes there is a good place to get rid of a bomb. It's just crazy. They retool the Batmobile while Batman and Robin are over in Tokyo. And so you get a 1969 Toyota Experimental EXI as the new Batmobile. It's all kinds of really cool stuff. And it was a fan-made thing that they put out online. And so, yeah, if you're bored one of these days and want to have that fan-made experience, it's Batman meets Godzilla.
JA, do you have something equally cool as that? Because that was pretty cool.
I do. I have the, you can get it in trade now, or you can get the 3-issue miniseries, This Ends Tonight, by Jerry Duggan, Kelvin Mao, and Robert Wyndham, with incredible art by Jay Lee. And this is a revenge tale set in Las Vegas, the city of sin. Murder, mayhem, action, exotic dancers, exotic animals, gun shows, both literal and figurative. These two sisters essentially hunted by assassins because there's a shocking family secret. And it's just grindhouse 70s exploitation films. Trade just came out the end of last month, so I highly recommend it. You can get it on Comixology Unlimited if you have a Comixology Unlimited account, or find it at your local comic book shop. This Ends Tonight from Image Comics.
And you are a huge fan of that Jerry Duggan nowadays. You did that Kid Cable like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he did that series too. Man, you're going to have to keep on hitting us up with Jerry Duggan stories for sure. My book this week is also a weird one, but it's one that I haven't been able to put down over the last couple of weeks. I've been reading it an issue at a time here and there, and it is The Complete Man-Wolf. After our previous episode of the last comic shop to start off season 6, where we started talking about John Jameson and how he got the moon gem and turned into a werewolf. And J. Jonah Jameson's like, no, not my son. And there's some great issues of Amazing Spider-Man. I was not really aware of what happened after those issues of Amazing Spider-Man. So I finally tracked down The Complete Man-Wolf, and I got the rest of the story. And it starts pretty mundane, with, again, it being still like he's a Spider-Man villain. He teams up with Morbius, the living vampire, so you got...
Morphin' time. You get morphin' time.
That's right. But the book doesn't really start getting good until it moves over to a lesser-known imprint that Marvel had at the time called Creature on the Loose. And basically, Man-Wolf starts highlighting that as the main character. At first, he struggles with his man-wolfness. He has to fight folks like Kraven, the Hunter, and things like that. But then David Kraft comes on the book as the writer, and George Perez comes on as the artist. And then things get real batshit crazy. You've got Man-Wolf on motorbikes, but eventually they go into space. And when they're out in space, then they're on some space station, a barbarian and a wizard, and then they're like, you gotta go to the moon because you're actually an ancient god of some other fantasy realm. Shrugs? And so he goes there, and that's when it switches over to Marvel Premiere in 2 issues.
Everything you're explaining here sounds a lot like Tailgunner Jo.
I was going to say, that you understood, that you were fine with.
I didn't say I understood it. It just nailed the landing because whatever. But there's an awesome action figure. It's a Marvel Legends figure where it's like he's in the armor and he's got the bow and arrow on the back and a sword, and like he's their god. And then eventually he just goes back to the Marvel Universe. Then he becomes a werewolf again, and it gets boring. He just goes and hangs out with Frankenstein monster and stuff like that. But those issues, boy howdy, Creature on the Loose into those 2 issues of Marvel Premiere, man, they're a trip. That's 70s Marvel at its best. David Kraft he eventually wrote for the Defenders and a lot of other stuff at Marvel. He's a really great, wonky writer of a lot of great stuff. And so I was a huge fan of The Complete Man-Wolf. Go check it out. If nothing else than that awesome 2-page spread of Man-Wolf on a motorcycle jumping over a ravine like he's Evel Knievel. That's I mean, Chad's salivating over here. He's speaking mine. He's like, I love this.
Did Man Wolf and Werewolf by Night ever team up as wolf buddies?
I wish.
That'd be a great book. Just We're Wolves.
Werewolves.
You would think they have basically the same character.
It writes itself, so it's the perfect Bronze Age Marvel book.
Mikey, finish us out here.
Okay, so I don't know if I've suggested this book. I get the feeling I might have, but it's actually 2 books. Technically, it's 2 books that are read interchangeably, 5 issues apiece. It is The One Hand and The Six Fingers. So The One Hand is by Ram V and some other folks, and The Six Fingers is by Dan Waters and some other folks. It starts out as sort of like a serial killer kind of thing, a cop chasing a serial killer from his past, and it tells it from the serial killer's point of view of somebody who might be the serial killer as well, the other book. So they feature a lot of the same events from 2 different perspectives, building the story out to it, and then it gets all sci-fi and weird, so you definitely wouldn't understand it. And but it's super cool. It's super cool. It was by Image, and there's 5 issues. I know there's trades out, but I don't know if they arranged the trades. You can read them separately, but it works really, really well if you read them issue 1, issue 1, issue 2, issue 2, issue 3, issue 3, starting with the One Hand. Yeah, you start One Hand and then Six Fingers, One Hand, Six Fingers. Yeah, they were coming out concurrently, and they're super cool.
That's a fun experiment.
Yes.
Yeah, especially with 2 different writers. I might have to check that one out. And I hope that other people check out The Last Comic Shop every single week. And there's a super easy way to do that. Just go out to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, rate, review, and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes coming up in 2016. We are going to have Mikey Wood back for plenty more episodes in 2026. And if you're a fan of Mikey Wood, make sure that you're not only checking out this, but past episodes featuring Mikey Wood. We have a whole mega pack with Mikey Wood. Of course, he's reading Marvel, not DC on that one. But still, some really great books. You got Mikey reading Infinity Gauntlet and Mikey reading Silver Surfer Parable.
That was
and there's some really great books in that mega pack. So make sure that you're checking that out. All of our episodes are evergreen and all available over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
Well, the point is, we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, but we don't want to be the last comic shop. So we encourage you guys to get out there, go to your local comic shop, dig through those back issue bins for the 6 issues of Tailgunner Jo from 1988, and then go over to the trade collections and look for the complete Man Wolf that Marvel just put out there to find those awesome Man Wolf in the fantasy land, on the moon on a motorcycle in the night, hanging out on the town.
That's right.
Getting some beef lo mein.
That's right. His hair was perfect.
I forget the noise he makes. His hair was perfect.
Ow!
No! Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just.
That's great. And something else that's great is that One Hand, Six Fingers experiment by Ram V and Dan Waters. And then also don't forget about This Ends Tonight, that Las Vegas-based revenge 3-parter from Jerry Duggan and Company. And then, once you get back home, log on to the interwebs and see if you can track down Batman Meets Godzilla for 3 issues of crazy fan-made fun. But all that and more waits for you in your comic book world out there. And then circle back to www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where you can find links to our social accounts. You can see those Golden Age covers to put you to bed at night, all sorts of fun comic discussion. You can find things like our merch store. And let me pass the baton, even though that's a Summer Olympic thing. Jay, what can folks find at the merch store this week?
Well, just in time for the Winter Olympics, we've got parkas and winter coats. I don't think so, but we can get a hoodie and t-shirts. And this week, a special on shirts that fall off the shoulders and reveal giant robot arms.
Sure. Because you need those. You need those. That's right. And some other things that you might need for comic books are all those supplies. And Mikey Wood's going to hit you up with that promo code. But how can people save some money, Mikey?
Well, it's so easy. They just go to bcwsupplies.com and put in our little promo code, which is LCSPOD. So that is LCS for Last Comic Shop POD for podcast. So LCS POD, get yourself a little bit of a percentage, get us a little bit of recognition, put your comics in bags. Mama always said keep it wrapped. Do it. So yeah. Yeah.
You're a treasure. That's Janelle.
Go back into the back.
That's right. That's right.
Case, we hope that you come back next week to more Last Comic Shop. We've got another weird one on tap for you next week. We've got the works of Fletcher Hanks. So if you've never read any Fletcher Hanks, oh my goodness, get ready. Ethan Larson will be back for that, as well as some blind ranks. So all that next week on the Last Comic Shop. Until then, I was the host, Danny Larson. I was joined by Jay Scott and Chad Smith, as well as the wonderful, and I mean truly wonderful, Mikey Wood. Until next week, stay safe, stay Olympic. That's right.
Hit the slopes. Grab your shotgun.
Right.
Get your skis.
Get your skis shined up. Grab a juicy fruit.
That's right.
Taste is gonna move ya.
Take a sniff. Pull it out. Yeah.
Comic Shop Podcast was a 2026 Black Angus production.